The next thing that I learned during that first year of retirement was more together time. So, more together time with my spouse, with Mark, more together time with my parents, my pop, more together time with even some of my closest friends really started to create or expose unexpected relationship friction. Closeness doesn't automatically mean connection. And I learned that early in that first year of retirement. Different spaces, different paces, different rhythms of life started to become very obvious. When I was working full time and I had a girlfriend say, "Hey, can you meet me at 5 o'clock? I really got to talk to you about something. Let's meet at Sam's Pub. We'll grab a glass of wine, but I really need your attention." I'd be like, "Okay, I can swing that on the way home and still make dinner or still, do X, Y, or Z." Now I have the time and the closeness, but for me to stop everything that I'm doing at 5 o'clock because I'm no longer swinging home, I'm actually starting to chop food or get things ready to prepare a dinner. I suddenly didn't want to do those types of things. And what I started to realize is some of my working friends that swing by or stop in or, let's have lunch, and lunch was always defined by the working person's lunch time frame. Some of that just didn't work for me anymore. And small habits that either Mark had or, some of our children had or our close family or some of my close neighbors or friends had, some of the habits that they had that I had always felt were, I don't know, I don't want to say normal, but like just kind of part and parcel to who they were, really started to become more noticeable to me. And I really needed to take the time to sit down and journal about things that were important to me, to sit down and devise these pillars that Mark and I talk about that I am going to focus on and then I'm going to put boundaries around, whether it's health and wellness, relationships, spouse partner relationship, spirituality, whatever it is. And I started to realize in that first year that time together really started to require more boundaries. And maybe it was because at this stage of life or this phase of life, time is my most important currency. It was no longer about the paycheck, it was more about the time. So I realized that boundaries really became a big and important saving grace to me and my relationships during this time. The next thing was talking a lot about energy. I started doing a lot of internal meditation. I started doing a lot of yoga. I started doing a lot of me versus me, not me versus the world or versus anybody else. And I realized that I started to become very protective over my own energy, where I put my energy, where I sourced my energy, and what I did to actually give off or gain energy from. So either give to or gain back energy. You know, requests that people made of me over the years prior to this that I probably was just always a yes person and a people pleaser on, I started to really discern whether or not they were good for my energy and my energy field. And I don't want to make it sound like I became this incredibly, I don't know, self person, this person that was just all about myself, but I was about protecting my energy, free time of mine that started to get claimed by others quickly because I was suddenly the retired friend or I was the mom that was no longer working or the spouse that had a ton of time on their hands. That free time, as it got claimed by others, I started to feel myself getting resentful. And part of it was on me because I do believe, not clearly articulating my boundaries, not clearly articulating what brings me energy, not clearly articulating what conversations I choose to put myself in or not. That's on me. Some of it was just the idea, that big rap, idea of that person's retired, therefore they have nothing to do, therefore they can do things for me. That is a really bad mantra to fall into, in my opinion. watching what drains your emotions, watching what drains your fun, watching what drains your energy is as important as watching what fulfills your energy, what fills your bucket, what brings you joy. And I think in the first year, it took me probably 9 or 10 months to figure out what that balance needed to look like.